Today I want to talk about a topic that I consider to be one of the most important things a financial planner can talk to the families that they work with about, but unfortunately very few are talking to their families about this. So take a walk with me and let's talk about it. So the issue is, we do a lot of planning for people, and they're saying, well, let's assume that I live to be 90 or 95 or 100, whatever the number is. But that's your lifespan. And unfortunately for most of us, our health span is going to be much less than our lifespan. So this concept of health span, and what does it mean and how does it impact your decision making? So you've heard me say before, unfortunately, if you're 60 years old, very likely you have less than 1,000 weeks of healthy, active time in front of you. And that's not a lot, but yet, it's just so easy in life to put off the things that we want to do and say, well, I'll do that next year. Or I'm going to work one more year. There's so many of these decisions that we put off, but what we fail to realize is some of the things that we can do today, we may not be able to do in the future. And that moment can happen a lot more quickly than any of us think. Our health start, boy, once you get about 60, and I'm 58, so I'm right there with you. Once you get about 60, your health can deteriorate very quickly. So obviously it's important that we take care of ourselves. You've heard me say on the channel, boy, you really got to take the time. And I know it's hard, but to do what you can to stay physically active and to eat as well as you can. And then also I would put in that category to get a quality night's sleep as often as you can. But these are all things that we can put off in any one given day, and we don't see the consequences of it. So as you're thinking about your financial plan, I want to encourage you to think about not just your lifespan, but your health span, and how does that impact the things that you're going to do? How does that impact, let's say you want to do an African safari. It's on my bucket list. I've never done one, but I do want to do one at some point. I think that's probably a more physically demanding trip than maybe taking a river cruise through Europe. So probably the African safari is something I should try to do in the next 5 years. Maybe 10, but probably better to do in the next 5 years. So I encourage you to make a list of the things that are important for you to do, that you really want to do. I really wanted to learn to surf, and it would have been really easy for me to put it off. But I learned to surf when I was 50. And at the time I was like, well, my kids are still young. I don't want to spend weekends away occasionally to go learn to surf and to actually surf. But you know what? I'm really glad I did it, because when you're learning, you get beat up by those waves. So I encourage you to make a similar list and put next to it, at what age do you think it would likely be hard to do this, so that you have an idea of, okay, this has to be something that we work on doing in the next couple of years. And as opposed to, putting it off and not being deliberate, not being thoughtful about it, and then realizing later, gee, the window closed on that sooner than what I thought it was gonna. I had less time to do that than I thought I would. I don't want that to happen to you. So I encourage you to be thoughtful. I encourage you to be deliberate in your decision making on this, and put together what I call time buckets. And I have a video up here that I'll link either here or put in the show notes that talk about time buckets and go into more detail. But there's a book that, if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you've heard me recommend. It's a book by a gentleman named Bill Perkins, and it's called Die with Zero. And really, that's, for some of us, that's an off-putting title. It has kind of a shock factor, and I think that was Bill's intent, but it's an excellent book. And really what he talks about is not just utilizing your capital where you can get the most bang for the dollar, but also utilizing your time and your health, utilizing your health span while you can, and think deliberately about when you can do certain things, and make sure that you put those in a bucket when you can do it. So it's a book that I highly recommend. In fact, I was planning on writing a book like that. And frankly, after I read Bill's book, it's like, you know what? I can't do as good of a job sharing this concept as what Bill just did. So hat tip to you, Bill. Someday I'm hoping to have Bill as a guest on this show. I'm such a fan. So Bill, if you're watching, I'd love to have you as a guest. So that's a great book that talks about using your time wisely, talking about using your resources wisely, which as we get older, right, when we're younger, one of our most valuable resources is our money. And of course now, you know, money is what funds our retirement and what funds the activities that we like to do. But in many respects now, our health and our time and our relationships are much more important. And spending that time wisely so that when we're 80 and we look back, we don't have regrets. One of my goals was to go to Machu Picchu. And I was fortunate enough last year, I was able to go to Machu Picchu. And I was really surprised. I did not expect to have an emotional reaction when I went there. But because it had been on my bucket list for about a decade, the fact I was actually there, and I'm not about checking things off of my bucket list, but I am about experiencing things and being able to have these adventures, being able to have these experiences. So I was really glad I was able to do that. And I actually recorded a video for my family and said, hey, I'm here, I made it. Unfortunately, my family couldn't go with me. But I got choked up when I did that video because I didn't realize how important it was to me until I was actually talking about it on video. So I don't know what your Machu Picchu is, but I know we all have Machu Picchus. I have more in the future, and so do you. So we want to use that time wisely, not just on these adventures and experiences, but maybe, you know, there's a career or something that you know, second career that maybe doesn't pay as well, but we always thought it would be fun to do. And the clock's ticking on that as well. So make sure that if there's something like that you want to do, make sure that you take the time to do it. And, you know, it's never going to be easier to do that, likely, than it is now. You know, if you've always thought that, you know, you like arts and crafts and you'd like to really put more time into your creativity and maybe do some paintings, and who knows, maybe you can sell those paintings, or there's a lot of people like in the creator economy that want to do some writing and share their views and maybe get paid to do writing and build an audience that way. You know, it's easier to do that now than as you get older. So anyways, thinking about this concept of health span versus lifespan, unfortunately, it's going to sneak up on us much sooner than what we think it is. So I really want you to be cognizant and deliberate about that. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, do me a favor, hit the like button. It really does help the algorithm find other people like yourself that hopefully this video can help as well. Leave me a comment. I love reading the comments. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Use this time wisely.